Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge, where I sit with some of the theater's best and brightest, just chatting it up. This time I'm at 54 Below, where my guest is getting ready to open her new nightclub act, which will run from May 20th through the 25th. Please welcome one of Broadway's favorite leading ladies and one of the sweetest, Tony Award winner, Miss Laura Benanti.
Thank you.
How are ya?
I'm good. How are you?
You're so busy.
Oh, yes. But it's good. It's good to be busy.
Well, you look stunning.
Thank you very much.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
So how did this all come about? We're here at 54 Below.
Well, you know, Richard Frankel, who runs 54 Below, he's been like my fairy godfather, so to speak. He gave me my first job ever, which was The Sound of Music on Broadway when I was 18 years old. And he has just always looked out for me. You know, I left NYU in order to do Sound of Music, and he promised my mother, he called her on the phone, and he promised her that he would always keep me working so that I wouldn't regret having not gone to school. So this is him keeping good on his promise.
I love it. So tell me about the new show. What can we expect?
Well, it's called In Desperate Search of the Right Kind of Attention.
Love the title.
Because I kind of feel like anybody doing a one-person show is like, please pay attention to me. I feel like that's what they should all just be called, just please pay attention to me. Todd Almond is the music director, and he's doing the arrangements. And I like for people to feel like they're coming into my living room and I'm just singing to them, and it feels very relaxed. I talk to the audience. It doesn't feel stuffy at all. It's, you know, classic music theater stuff, as well as songs that Todd wrote and songs that I wrote, and some pop stuff, some Joni Mitchell stuff. And then like we're doing Simple Joys of Maidenhood as if it were written by Joni Mitchell. So we're doing interesting, eclectic arrangements of pop songs and folk songs and musical theater songs.
So you write songs too and play the guitar?
I mean, I used to play the guitar, but then, you know, I had that whole crazy neck thing, so that's a little bit hard for me to hold down the frets now. But I used to write songs more. But actually, the song that I'm singing that I wrote, one I play on the ukulele, and the other one I wrote when I was 11, so called New Mexico. So we're going to be doing those two songs.
Great. Let's talk about the intimate space. Do you like playing cabaret?
I do. I like it so much. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite thing that I do, yeah, because you get to be yourself outside of the realm of whatever character you tend to play or what people might perceive of who you are as a person. And it's an opportunity to be in a really intimate space with people who share the love of live theater, which has been my obsession since I was a little girl. So, and I feel like a lot of my audience are younger people, so I like to sort of bring them into what feels like an old world sort of way of performing, the sort of cabaret, one-person show style. Can feel, I think, a little archaic to young people. So I like, when they're here, for them to see that it can be fresh and interesting.
So what do you love about this room?
This room is so beautiful. Well, it has so much history. And it's just, it feels like an old speakeasy or something, you know? It feels like there should just be smoke and like Ella Fitzgerald should be walking by. It's very, very beautiful. I love it. And I love the intimacy of it. I love that you have those folks back there in the booth, and then these guys all crammed in here just like, hey, what are you doing? I'm not going to wear a skirt for these folks.
Pants.
Yeah.
We're a beautiful pantsuit.
A sensible pantsuit.
Well, I want to go back to TV. You're so busy on television. So you just wrapped the season of Go On, right? How much fun is it doing that show?
It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Matthew Perry leads an incredible ensemble of wacky weirdos. Julie White, Tony Award winner Julie White being one of them. And we just have such a good time. We really all genuinely love each other. There is, you know, right now we're all in a massive, like, mass text, wondering whether we're going to get picked up or not. So there's been a lot of, like, emotional eating and texting each other. So we should know that this week if we get picked up for a second season. But it's so fun. It's a delight to be with those people.
And talk about the role you play.
I feel like my character has evolved significantly. I feel like in the beginning, as with any series, there was a little tentative footing with her. Like how serious should she be? How good at her job should she be? What is their romantic entanglement going to be? And I feel like over the course of the 22 episodes, they really found her niche, which was like that she's as neurotic as the rest of them. She doesn't have her stuff together any more than they do, but she's trying. And her heart is really in the right place. I feel like she is good at her job, despite the fact that she doesn't really have any significant tools. But she's naturally empathetic, and she's a good person. And I think they found some really funny ways to to see her struggle, and also her sort of competitiveness has come out, which I think is always funny, to see a person who's like a zenned out, teacher being like uber competitive and like gambling with a cigar. So I'm if it gets picked up for a second season, I'm excited to see what they do with her, because I don't know if this is a spoiler alert if anybody watches it or whatever, but so she broke up with her fiance, so now she's like a single lady. So we'll see what happens.
You were on one of my favorite guilty pleasure television shows, The Playboy Club.
Oh yes, I love that
fun?
show. Yes, it was so fun. It was so fun, and one of my closest friends in the world, Chad Hodge, wrote it.
Yeah.
We met doing that show, and he's my lavender husband. I'm his lavender wife.
Did you love the time period
Yes.
it took place in and the kind of clothes? You got to sing on the show?
Yes, I loved everything about it. I miss it every day. It was so much fun. It's everything that I love to do wrapped into one. Singing, dancing, being like a little bit bad. I like the fact that nobody knew if she was good or bad. I don't think she knew either. And I love the time period. I love the clothes. I love those costumes. I love that cast. It was a really nice cast, a really good group of people. So, yeah, I miss it a lot. It didn't get a fair shake.
Your Broadway debut, which of course was The Sound of Music.
Yes.
That changed everything for you, didn't it?
It did. It really did. I mean, I was 18 years old. I was the understudy for Rebecca Luker, and she went on vacation for 2 weeks, and I took over for her in those 2 weeks. And then when she decided to leave, I auditioned again for it, and they let a 19-year-old kid play Maria on Broadway in The Sound of Music opposite Richard Chamberlain. It was crazy. It changed my life forever in a wonderful way. And it was my childhood dream, to achieve my childhood dream that quickly. I was still sort of a child.
Yeah.
It was pretty remarkable. I have a lot of gratitude for it, especially in retrospect. I feel like it was all happening so quickly that I don't know if I had the presence of mind to be as grateful as I could have been about it. And now I know that is not how that happens for most people.
Because it must have been magical to play Maria in The Sound of Music, a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. Yeah, and my idol, Julie Andrews, I watched her play that role all the time, multiple times a year on video. Yeah. So that was when we had videotapes, kids. Yeah. You've worked with so many amazing people throughout your career. Yeah. What was it like working with Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine on Into the Woods? It was amazing. It was incredible. I was nervous every single day because I'm obsessed with Stephen Sondheim. Like, by the time I was 11, I could sing the entire score of Follies, like every single part. I have an obsessive love. I Remember Sky is one of the first songs I learned how to play on the piano and sing when I was like 8 years old. So being in the same room with him and having him be like, "Call me Steve," was so unbelievably surreal. And he has always been so kind and loving and supportive of me. And James too. James is a really, really smart man, smart director, and he knew when to leave me alone and when to get in there and tweak. That was, it was a wonderful experience. I had played that same role. I played Cinderella in Into the Woods when I was 15 years old at the Barn Theater in Montville, New Jersey. So I got to play the same role on Broadway 6 years later and been nominated for a Tony. So that was very cool. Do you remember your audition for Sondheim? Yeah, I do. James asked me to play the scene where I'm coming back from the ball as if I was really, really drunk. And then we ended up putting that in the production because it was so funny in the rehearsal. Or excuse me, in the audition. Because how weird is that, like, to go in and say, I have to audition today for Stephen Sondheim? It was really, really scary. But I was so brave when I was young. I was 21 when I auditioned for that, and I don't know, I was so brave. I never went in thinking, oh, I want them to like me. I assumed that they wanted to like me. And that if I could just bring in, what they wanted, then they'd be like, yay, it's you. Only through time have I sort of developed this fear of auditioning. And it's interesting how brave you are when you are a kid. Mother cannot guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone. Sometimes people leave you halfway through the world. Others may deceive you. You decide what's good
is alone.
I wish.
I know.
Good time. That's when your
Did.
neck thing started. Tell
Yeah,
me what
yeah, yeah.
happened.
Oh, God, it's such a
Yeah.
long and horrible story. I'll try to truncate
Yeah.
it and make it as short as possible. So, I had to do this pratfall where I would run across the back of the stage and then jump up onto a moving platform of stairs and then throw myself back and land in like a push-up position. And the sort of deterioration of that over time, doing that 8 times a week for 9 months or whatever, really took its toll. And I always thought, like, oh, it's my wrist, it's my elbow. All these other things that I later learned were disc-related.
Yeah.
And then one night in particular, I just fell in a wonky way, and I heard my neck crack, and it was horrible. But, I kept trying to do the show. It was a mess. When you're a kid, you just want to please everybody, and you don't take care of yourself. So I would, like, go in and out of the show, and then I could do it for a little while, and then all of a sudden it would get so inflamed that I couldn't, like, move my head. And then I thought I had a stomach virus, and I went to work, and I passed out, and the ambulance came, but it wasn't the virus. It was because I wasn't, like, getting enough oxygen to my brain, literally. And so I had surgery in 2003 for that. And then I was told that I was totally fused and well and healthy, but I was still in a lot of pain, but not talking about it because I didn't want to be like the girl with the neck problem. And then in Gypsy, it was really, really bad. And I went to a different doctor with the old MRI and old x-rays from that 2003 surgery, and he was like, you were never fused. You were never better. So
Really?
yeah. So then I had a second surgery in 2010, which worked. I have a giant gaping scar on the back of my neck, but now I can walk and move, and I have definite limitation and restriction in my movement, and there's a lot of activities I can't do, but it's a lot better than it was. If I really focus on it too hard, and I think about that from 21 to 30 was excruciating pain all the time, I get a little pissed.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, those are supposed to be like the best years of my life, and I was like, oh, I just hope I can get out of bed today. So that's a bummer. But I try not to focus on that too much.
Yeah, sure. Because you went into 9 after a surgery, like 3
I
weeks
did.
after,
Too
right?
soon. Way too soon. I should never have been allowed to do that. That was not good advice.
But you had a great time doing 9, right?
I did. Those women rallied around me so hard. Antonio Banderas and Melanie Griffith sent me like 4 baskets in the hospital because they did not know what to do. They were so sweet but felt so powerless. They sent me like 4 baskets of like teddy bears and videos and all sorts of stuff. But Mary Stuart Masterson and Cheetah Rivera, who I've idolized since I was a kid. Cheetah Rivera would stand in the wings every single night when Antonio and I would sing Unusual Way, and she would watch, and she would put her hand over her heart. And then I would cry because it was so moving.
There was nothing like that production. I saw the
It's so
original, which I
beautiful.
loved, but I fell madly in love with this all over again.
I love that show. I love Maury Eston's music. I love David Laveau. I think he did such a beautiful job directing it. And it was just such a remarkable group of women. People always say, like, what was it like to work with all those women? It was a dream. We were, like, massaging each other every day in rehearsal. Jonathan Butterall was the choreographer, and he had us, like, touching each other and being close to each other every single day. And it was so moving. Every day was moving.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was a great role. Talk about the role.
Yeah, Claudia, his muse, who will always love him but knows that he can never love her in return the way that would be meaningful to her. I found her so sad and so, I loved playing her. I like the illusion of how like movie stars and people like that maybe seem on the surface, but what's bubbling underneath is often so interesting and there's so much depth in there because they can only show so much. So I really, and I also loved the Italian part of it, obviously. I actually sing Unusual Way. It's the last song that I sing in this show. I've sung Unusual Way in almost every show that I've done, even though this is a brand new one. It's a song that I relate to so much, and I don't know, I just love singing it, so I kept it in.
Yeah, and working with Antonio, like in the rehearsal room and then on stage, what that was like.
Incredible. He is the most driven, focused, generous, hard-working individual I've ever worked with. He came in the first day of rehearsal, and he was completely off book. Completely. It was amazing. He's so smart and just incredibly generous. I have to say, like Patty and Antonio, people, like the biggest stars that I've worked with are the people who have been the most generous. Cheetah.
Yeah.
So wonderful.
Well, let's get into Gypsy, because Gypsy, again, was a show that changed everything for you.
Yeah.
But it started out as like a 3-week run during
Yeah.
the summer.
Yeah.
How did it all happen for you, Gypsy?
I auditioned. You know, Jack Vertel was like, look, I can't get you the offer for this show, and you should come in and audition for it. And I was like, okay. Couldn't even audition when the Bernadette version was happening.
Yeah.
Sam Mendes wouldn't even see me for it. He didn't want to see me. So it was kind of vindicating to be cast, and then, you know, everything else that happened subsequently. But yeah, I just auditioned, and Arthur Lawrence, who I still miss very much, I sang Little Lamb, and he came up to me and he whispered in my ear, I don't want you to think about being young at all. I just want you to sit on the floor and imagine what it would be like if nobody knew it was your birthday. And something really clicked in me, and I finished the song, and he was like, yeah, that was it. And I got cast, and then the rest is sort of history.
So what was it like working with him? I mean, were there battles? I mean, talk about, he's such a great director and such a great man, what it was like.
You know, the first 2 weeks, I hated him. I wanted to quit because he was so tough on me. And then I don't know if Patty spoke to him or if we just had one too many, like, sharp moments, but he said to me, he was like, I realized that you're not someone that I have to break down. You're someone that I have to build up. And that's not what I thought. When I hired you, I assumed that you would have like an ego, and you don't. And from that minute on, we were like best pals. And he really changed my acting. He really helped me to understand that I am enough. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to pretend to be young. I don't have to show you that I'm excited or show you that I'm sad. I can just be. That if I just trust myself enough to be in my own body, that the character will come through me. You know, in whatever mood that I arrived in the theater in that day, the character will come through me. He taught me that.
Yeah. So that was the turning point for both of you, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then his last day, we were best pals.
Because I think your performance, I've seen many Louises on stage, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. There was a deep emotional, I don't know, there was something different that you brought to this that no one else had ever had before.
Thank you. I think that Arthur really didn't let me shy away from the sadness of her, you know? Because I think a lot of people, it's easy to get the youthful and it's easy to get the sexy, but the transition is really, really hard. You have to know why you're doing it. And he really taught me that the performing for her was power. She was finally getting the attention that she had always wanted from her mother, but she was getting it from these men who she had disdain for. So that in the back of her mind, in the strip, was this sense of like, you disgust me, you know? And that's sad, to change from like sweet, wide-eyed, loving, look at me, see me, Louise, to like, you disgusting fools, you know? And he really did not want me to shy away from sort of what was gained and lost in her transformation into Gypsy Rose Lee. It wasn't all just like, now I'm gorgeous. There was a darkness that came over her. But also, and I think it has to be said that you are only as good as the people that you're performing with. So Patti LuPone and Boyd Gaines brought out something in me that I had never seen before, nor have I really ever seen it again. There was something about the magic of the three of us that enabled us all, I think, to fully realize these characters.
Because you all won Tony Awards.
We did.
And you were the first Louise to ever win a Tony Award, too.
Yeah.
Your speech was so beautiful.
Oh, gosh.
What do you remember of that night?
I remember knocking over the cameraman because I wanted to get up there. Remember how sweet Kristen Chenoweth was? She was so excited for me. I remember Arthur Lawrence standing and applauding for me. I remember looking over at my husband and he was crying. I didn't write a speech because I didn't want to jinx myself. So I wish I had been a little bit more composed. But I was just so excited.
It was all from the heart. It was
so
perfect.
Excited. It was thrilling. Yeah. It was perfect.
I know you and Patty are really close.
We are.
Did you hit it off from the very first day?
Yeah. From the very first, you know what's actually really funny? She and I did a Stephen Sondheim concert, like ladies who sing Sondheim, together, a concert together. And she turned to Richard Frankel again, and she said to him, next job I want to do, I want to play her mother. And then Gypsy came along. And she was like, that isn't even what I meant. I just felt this connection to you, and I wanted to play your mom. And then she played my mom again. We did a pilot together that didn't get picked up called Open Books, and she played my mother again.
There was just a perfect chemistry with that production.
Yeah,
that
there was.
No one could put their finger on it, but
Yeah.
it was just perfect.
There are little moments that happen like that in the theater, and they're just like perfect little gems, you know.
Was there a perfect moment for you each night? Did it change your favorite moments in the show?
My favorite moments changed every night, but I have to say the last scene, you know, the scene with Patty in the dressing room, and then our very last scene together. Those were the most memorable to me.
See, for me as an audience member, Little Lamb, just
Yeah.
the whole audience would just cry.
Yeah, it's funny because, you know, Arthur sort of hated that song. He was like, we got to figure out a way to make this not the song that everyone is annoyed with. And I think he really accomplished that through his and my version of her sadness, of just like really letting it be bare. I'm glad you felt that way. Thank you.
Really great.
Thank you.
Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown.
Yes.
Dynamite. You won every year. You know, you won what? You won the
I didn't
Drama
win the
Desk.
Tony
Well,
Award.
you should have, but you won. You got the Drama Desk. You got the OCC.
Yeah.
Great role. Talk about that role
I
and
loved
that number.
playing her. I loved playing her, Candela. She was like this dumb model who managed to get herself entangled with a terrorist. And even once she found out that he was a terrorist, she was like still in love with him a little bit. She's the type of person who I feel like is easily distracted, so she'd be talking to you and then like see something shiny, and then she's talking about the shiny thing and then go back to you. And Model Behavior, which is one of the best numbers I've ever had the pleasure of performing. David Yazbek just did a remarkable job. It's so brilliant.
Peppa, it's me again, why aren't you picking up the phone? It's like my brain is gonna melt if I don't talk to you. I've got a problem in the shower and I've only got a minute, cause the problem in the shower is this guy that I've been dating named Malik. He's Western, swarthy like a desert sheik, and he's been here in my apartment for about a week. I met him down at Cafe Sombra, and I know you think I'm overly romantic, but you wouldn't believe the connection we had. Like immediately, I was ready for him to meet my mom. Like I could feel my heart exploding like some kind of bomb, which is ironic because actually I think he literally has some kind of. Anyway, Grandpa, happy birthday. Say hello to Grandma and be sure and take. Yo, that was him. And they've been jumping to conclusions, God, I hope I am. He thinks I'm thin and he's got shoulders like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Listen to me when you hear this, I'll be here for half an hour. Call me back.
I loved that production. I mean, I wish that we had gone out of town so we could work out the kinks. I think opening a new show on Broadway without having an opportunity to do it elsewhere is a little dangerous these days, you know.
So what was that whole experience like? It was a huge show.
It was a huge show, but like, you know, I think that the show that Ben Brantley saw, he saw it on a Saturday night, and we only ran it through that way on a Saturday afternoon. So, because it had been changing and changing and changing and changing, and it got locked Saturday afternoon, and he came that evening. So, like, he saw a performance that everyone was just like, oh, I don't even know where I'm supposed to go. So that feels a little, like, unfair in a way. I think that people who saw it in the beginning and then saw it right before we closed were like, whoa, you guys really, it just meshed, it gelled. You need that time with a new production, and especially something like Pedro Almodovar. That's a very specific tone. It's not comedy and it's not drama. It's walking the tight wire in between those two things. And you know, you're either on it and it's genius, or you fall off and you die. And so there were some times that we were on that wire, and it was like the most incredibly balletic, acrobatic magic you've ever seen. And sometimes we died.
Well, that's a show you definitely needed an audience for.
Yeah.
Like you said, the show was changing all the
Yeah.
time, but you needed to break it in with an audience and see how they were feeling.
Yeah.
You know, that tennis match back and forth.
Yeah.
Great cast.
Incredible cast, and a lovely group of people. It's one of my favorite experiences that I've ever had. It was fast, but I loved it. And it was the first time in 10 years that I had been able to do a production not in pain, because I had just had my spinal surgery a few months prior. So I was able to be on stage and like not hurting, and that was remarkable for me.
Is there a role you'd like to tackle on stage?
I would love to play Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, but we got to get on that, kids, because I'm not getting any younger.
You look gorgeous.
Well, tick-tock went the clock. I would love to do Brigadoon. I would love to do that with my husband. I think that would be really fun. I've always wanted to play Fosca in Passion.
Yeah.
Well, that will never happen, but I would really like to. Yeah, that's kind of it. I try not to have too many expectations because that just sort of spoils the view for everything. Every wonderful experience that I've had has been a bit of a surprise. So.
Well, let's talk about married life.
Yeah.
How do you juggle careers on like 2 different coasts and everything? Tell me.
It's really hard. I'm not gonna lie. This year has been very difficult for us. It's hard to be away from your best friend and the person that you love the most, you know. And he was in Philadelphia shooting his show.
Yeah.
So it was tough. You know, it's a 3-week on, 1-week off schedule. So once a month I would get to come home for like 5 days or so, 5 or 6 days, and it's hard.
Do you Skype?
Yeah, we'll FaceTime, but it's it's not the same as being
I know.
with the person that you love. So we're really trying to cherish this time together as much as possible, especially if my show goes back. And he'll be doing Far From Heaven, and then he'll be doing Bridges of Madison County. So he'll only have 1 day off a week, which means I'm going to be doing all the traveling again, which is hard.
I got you. Well, that's always great to see you at the opening night of, the big
Yeah.
night. Oh, there they are together.
Yes.
No
So
one's
rare.
working. No one's working today.
So rare. Steve was like, I've gone to so many openings without you, I think people are starting to wonder what's going on.
Exactly. What's the best bit of advice you were ever given that you still live by?
Ooh. Mary Beth Peel told me that the minute that you meet someone, they show you exactly who they are. They tell you with their own words, and we either choose to believe them or we don't. And I think that is absolutely true. I've had so many experiences with people where I've met them and they have said something or done something that I've been wary, but then I just get in there anyway, and then a few weeks, months, years, whatever pass, and I go, oh my gosh, this is exactly who you told me you were, and I just didn't believe you. And it can happen the other way around too, in such a positive way where you meet someone and you're like, yes, you are who you are, and that's incredibly wonderful. That to me is the piece of advice that has helped me the most with the business, I would say, because it is a business, and when I came in here when I was younger, I think I was really naive, assuming that sort of everybody wants you to succeed. And one of the things that I love about the theater is that most people do. Most people do want you to succeed. You have the Richard Frankels and the Jack Vertels of the world, and who just always look out for you no matter what. So yeah, that would probably be it.
It's great you come full circle, that you're here now.
Yes, I know.
What are you looking forward to the most with playing the club?
Ooh, what am I looking forward to the most? I think, all of these new songs, I have 10 new songs. Only 2 will be the same. So I'm looking forward to feeling out the audience reaction to these new arrangements. I think that they're really interesting, and I'm looking forward to the communication the most. I really like to talk to the audience, especially when there's like kids here. I love to talk to them because it's so rare to see a kid in a cabaret setting, but almost every single one of my shows there's like a little kid there, and I have the most wonderful experience with them. I'm looking forward to all of it. I'm looking forward to that communal feeling that you have in a live performance where there's no difference between you and the audience. There's that certain sweet spot where you're just like all in it together.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank
sitting with me.
you.
Have the best time.
Thank you.
And I'll see you on May 20th.
Yay.